I believe I am live. I am just going to give this a second, make sure everybody is able to check in. This is my first time going live on LinkedIn, and I am so excited about our conversation today. And so things are getting connected. I can see things are starting to move, things are starting to shake. It is Friday, and I am based in New Jersey. And so the weather this week has been phenomenal. It has been really awesome. And then it's going to drop again, which is not good. Um, but I am excited for our conversation today as we are talking about how do we design mental health and leadership programs that actually work, right? And talking through a framework that we have put together, a framework that works, so that we can build programs that drive real impact. And so, as folks are starting to come in, feel free to say hello. Feel free to pop into the chat. Um, and yeah, say hello to engage. That is one of my favorite parts of doing this work is making sure that we are engaging, right? Making sure that we are not just learning, from me and the content that we have, that we're also learning from each other. Awesome. Okay, I can see that I am live. I am plugged in. I'm going to keep us going because I know folks may have things to do, and we have a lot to cover today. And so, as we are going to get started, let me make sure all of the tech is good to go. Making sure I can see chat boxes. Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. All right, so welcome. Today we are in our first of hopefully many trainings that is centered on how do we design mental health and leadership programs that actually work, right? And so we're going to talk about developing that right mindset to create and lead effective programs. We're going to talk about how do we actually design and build these programs that drive lasting change, and then the importance of data, right? And so you can measure that impact and improve our results. If you see me looking to the side, I just have folks on my side screen. And so I want to make sure that I'm able to tune in there. I am trying to make sure I can see everything with the chat box. So if folks are here, please feel free to drop something in the chat. Please say hello. Um, I'm just going to do this on my own. I'm going to do a test and see if these start to come up. All right. I'm going to keep us going. Again, tech is going to tech and tech is going to do its thing, but it's all good. So first, I obviously want to introduce who I am. Let's see. Cool. My name is Christina Broderick-Royes. I am a licensed social worker here in the state of New Jersey. I am a TEDx speaker, and so feel free to hop on YouTube my name, type in TEDx, and you will be able to see my TEDx talk. It was around proactive mental wellness, how we can have a paradigm shift for a healthier tomorrow. And some things that are I guess, key that we are hitting here, right? And so I do have my master's degree in social work. I'm a former therapist. I'm a certified school social worker. I've worked across the entire education spectrum, meaning I've worked in elementary school, middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school, and higher ed. I currently teach. I'm an adjunct instructor at Middlesex College, teaching courses around sociology, teaching courses around, obviously, social work. I'm an advisory board member for a national nonprofit called America Needs You. And so I sit on the advisory board for the New Jersey chapter, where we fight for the economic mobility of first generation college students. I'm a published author in a book called Where Social Work Can Lead You. But what's most important to me, I am a first generation American. My family hails from Jamaica. I am a first generation college graduate as well as a first generation business owner. And so what we do in my company, we've been around for about 5.5 years now, as we work to elevate marginalized communities and those that support them, where we center on mental health and leadership and program development that drives change. And so we've been able to so far support over 70 organizations nationwide, supporting and engaging over 5,500 individuals around the nation. And so here's just a snippet of the organizations that we have worked with. It is not a full list of all of our amazing partners. And we have a team. So it's not just myself. We have a team of consultants that we tap into to also help support our amazing clients and the work that they are doing. So why are we here, right? What is the reason for us tuning in today and having this conversation? And it's really centering on the need for leadership and mental health programs. There is an urgent need that exists. And so I want to talk about why this matters for your workforce, why this matters for your students, and why this matters for the communities that you serve. And so I want to level set here and understand what's currently happening. Why is it important that we are having these conversations? There's a lot of data here. I'm not going to read all of it. It's here for you to peruse. But when we think about the workforce impact, right, where 76% of employees report feeling burnt out at work. 50% of employees say that they would leave their job to work for a company that has better leadership. Around 53% of employees of color report feeling unsafe or unsupported in workplaces with limited DEI efforts, right? That contribute to higher stress and burnout rates. 1 in 4 employees have left a job due to poor leadership, making leadership turnover one of the most significant costs for organizations. Around 69% of leaders feel that they lack the necessary skills to build genuine connections with their teams, which directly impacts employee engagement and retention. Around 42% of leaders feel that they lack a clarity in their leadership identity, leading to inconsistent decision making and inability to fully inspire their teams. And leaders who lack self-awareness and emotional intelligence are more likely to experience high levels of stress and poor performance. When we think about students, right, and what students are going through, where half of chronic mental illnesses begin by age 14 and another 75% by age 24. Where a study was done looking at students who have dropped out of college, and around 64% of students who drop out of college is due to a mental health reason. Around children from low-income homes are been estimated to be up to 2 to 3 times more likely to develop mental health problems. And first-generation students are more likely to experience symptoms of stress, of depression, and lower levels of life satisfaction. Excuse me. So why does all this matter, right? Leadership is at the core of every successful organization. Poor leadership is a major driver of employee turnover, burnout, and disengagement. Leaders are not only responsible for making decisions, but for creating a culture of connection, clear communication, and personal alignment with their teams. So when we are able to support leaders to address their identity struggles and strengthen their leadership skills, it can drive improved team dynamics, higher retention rates, and better organizational outcomes. Mental health and leadership are no longer just nice to have. They are critical for the success at every level. And so whether you are a business leader, you're an educator, you're a community organizer, fostering well-being and building strong leadership are foundational to thriving organizations, resilient students, and communities that can truly grow and evolve. Here, again, a couple more data points for us when we're thinking about why this matters. We're thinking about impact. Companies that invest in leadership development see a 20 to 30% improvement in employee engagement, productivity, and retention. Employees who have access to mental health support are twice as likely to stay with their employer compared to those who do not. For every $1 invested in mental health programs, employers gain a $4 return in terms of improved productivity, reduced absenteeism, and lower healthcare costs. Leaders who manage their mental health well are 6 times more likely to effectively manage their teams through change and crisis. 82% of students who reported that having access to mental health resources improved their ability to manage academic stress and focus. 75% of students who engage in mental health services see improvement in both academic performance and personal well being. And 28% universities, with robust mental health programs report a 28% increase in retention rates among students accessing support. And so we want to talk about the real reasons, right? What are some of the real problems that we are seeing when it comes to mental health and leadership programs? What are the things that we are noticing? Sorry, I'm just double checking my text. Sorry, really quickly. Awesome. Sorry, just checking the tech really quickly. I got an alert. Okay. Just want to make sure everything's good to go. And so, why do most programs fail before they start, right? Why do most programs fail before they start? It can be a disconnect from the real needs. Where we see this happen is that folks in leadership, in administration, what have you, are just implementing programming initiatives, but not really sure what's actually needed, what the community needs, what the team needs. And so a disconnect exists. Maybe there is a lack of structure and strategic alignment. We just start to throw things at the wall and to see what sticks, but we don't take a step back and say, is this aligned to our strategies? Is this aligned to our strategic priorities? They fail maybe because there's also low engagement and participation in these programming initiatives. And I know that happens a lot, especially within the education space, right? Folks struggle with students being engaged in participating. And then lastly, maybe there is no clear way to measure success. Again, we just think of this idea, we just want to do this program and put it together, and we get so excited and we start building it, but we don't know what we are truly looking to measure as to whether or not this was successful. And so a reflection question here is, have you seen programs fail despite your best efforts? And have you taken the step to say, well, why is that? Why did this program fail? Did we actually understand the needs of the community? Was there adequate structure and alignment? How are we measuring success, especially when we're thinking about engagement and participation? And so a big piece is that it starts off with our mindset, the mindset of the folks who are doing this work to try to bring these programs to life. And so leaders have to move from compliance to empowerment. We have to lead with intentionality. Again, not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. What's the intention here? Who are we looking to empower and to support, to help? And so I understand that we're all busy and there's a lot of things that are going on. But if we are not in the right mindset as the folks that are putting these programming initiatives together, they're going to fail. And so how do we then implement empathy, emotional intelligence, and psychological safety within the programs that we are creating? We have to see the mental health initiatives as a core part of any type of business and program strategy. What we see in our society is that we think that mental health is like this different beast, right? That it belongs to the therapist, it belongs to the counseling center, it belongs to the EAP program, right? But as we looked at, if you think about the statistics that we looked at earlier, we actually know that it's all of our responsibility because it's impacting the way our programs are able to run or not run, the way that our departments can run or not run. Because we all have mental health, right? Mental health is not just when we are struggling. Mental health is not just when we are falling apart at the seams, right? We all have mental health. And so when we start looking at mental health as a core part of the interworkings of our organization, of our program, of our department, it can serve for longer term outcomes. And so the call to action here is, how do we cultivate leadership that champions the vision and emotional connection needed to sustain mental health and leadership problems? If any of this is resonating, or if y'all have any questions as I'm going through this, feel free to drop them into the chat box. Feel free to drop them into the chat box. And sorry if I look like I'm looking around here. I got a couple different screens. I'm trying to make sure that we are still good to go and you all are able to follow along. And so I'm going to move us through our company's framework. And it's a framework that we have put together and that we utilize with our different clients that we work with, right? And essentially, it's a way for us to start using more intention when we are developing and we are building programming initiatives. And so we'll start with the beginning, right, which is the evaluate space. We assess, we analyze, and we align. So when we were talking about the first piece around assessment, we have to be able to look at some data so that we can start making some more data-informed decisions. And so we have to start gathering this information, right? What is the data we have around the programs we have designed before? What are some metrics that we looked at, if we had any metrics, right? What is the data that we have? Are we collecting any information around either the needs of your employees, the needs of your teams, the needs of your students, the needs of your communities? Are we talking to them? Are we getting information from them? And then lastly, is there any historical data that we can look at, right? And so not just looking right here in the here and the now, what's the historical data that we can be looking at? Because maybe there are some trends that are happening that we're not paying attention to. And this happens a lot when there is a lot of staff turnover and there's new people keep coming in and there's new things that are being implemented and right? But we're not taking a step back and saying, well, what have we done before? Right? And so let's gather all of this data around the program design that we have, the needs of our employees, our teams, our students, our communities, and if there's any historical data. So we got to do some data gathering here. And I've talked to some folks, and I've done this with some other clients before. They're like, oh, we have data, but we don't do anything with it, right? It just like sits in their drawer or it sits in a Google Drive, right? They're not actually doing anything with it. And so we got to gather all of this data. If you are part of maybe a student organization or a student program, right? Maybe part of your team is that they meet with people, different students, right? One-on-one, right? Or even part of it's a regular department, right? And maybe your managers are meeting with their employees one-on-one. Let's bring all of that data to the table. We're all having all of these different one-off conversations. How are we starting to bring this information together? All right, so after we do that, we can then analyze, right? Now that we've gathered all of this data, how do we then do some analytics, right? How do we start to make sense of this information? So what's working? What's not working? Are we contributing to the problem? Because that happens. We inadvertently are actually contributing to the problem. And whether that is because, as we mentioned earlier, maybe there is a lack of alignment, there is some disconnection. Maybe we just keep doing things the way that they've always been done, even though it's not the best way to get to the goals that we have. And so I was talking to or doing a conference presentation around similar topics and talking to programs who run these very high intense programs in the summer for students, right? To help get them like acclimated to the college landscape. And they are like jam packing these summer programming. Like students are, from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to sleep, like there's all of this stuff that they have to do from the different classes and projects and go here and do all of this stuff, right? And understandably, right, I think the hope there is that they are trying to prepare them for college in the real way, right? That there's so much going on. But what's actually end up happening is that you're just burning your students out before they have the opportunity to even try and be successful. They are contributing to the problem because the design of that program is not beneficial. And I think about one of the conference attendees who then became one of our clients, who had noted that they took this question, brought it back to their campus, actually went through this methodology, and they changed their summer program, and then got feedback from their students saying this was one of the best summer programs you guys have done, because they realized that they were just doing too much. They were contributing to the problem. All right. And so we have to, right, make sense of this information, what's working, what's not working. I think a lot of folks are very clear or familiar with a SWOT analysis. All right. And if we think of it kind of like a quadrant, like this, if you can see me, right? We got your strengths and your weaknesses at the top, which are like your internal workings, and then your opportunities and your threats at the bottom. And so a lot of people might have done a SWOT analysis for their department or for their company, right? But have you ever done one from a mental health lens, from a leadership development lens, from a program lens, right? What are the things that are working and the things that are not working? What are our opportunities and what are our threats externally? So thinking of that in terms of doing a SWOT analysis. And then lastly, then we can align, right? And so we've gathered all this information. We then looked at all this information. We analyzed it. What's working, what's not working? Are we contributing to the problem? What are our SWOT analysis results? Now we can align. Curate your vision, then your plan. We have to start with the vision. We've gotten all this information now, and so sometimes we just like to jump right into planning, program planning, right? Let's take a step back. What is the vision that we even have? And so one of the books I really enjoy is called The 12-Week Year. I have it here still sitting in front of me because I like to tap into it. It's a book essentially around how you can get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. And one of the things that Brian P. Moran talks about is that before doing anything, right, before we start diving into all of the strategies and things that we want to get done, we have to start with our vision. You will need a vision of the future that is bigger than the present. You must find a vision with which you are emotionally connected. Without a compelling vision, you will discover there is no reason to go through the pain of change. You create things twice. First mentally, then physically. And I love, right, my favorite part here, I think, is this around the pain of change, because it might require us to do things differently, to respond in different ways, to have meetings in different ways. And it might be uncomfortable. Maybe part of this is that we did a start, stop, continue, right? What are the things we're going to start? What are the things we're going to stop? What are we going to continue? And we have to let go of things that aren't working, that we're just holding on for the sake of holding on. Because it's always how it's always been done, but it's not working. And so it might be uncomfortable to change. But if we are all connected to the same vision, a vision with which we are emotionally connected, it allows us to go through that pain of change, right? And so before creating change, we have to define the vision that will guide your actions. Define the vision that will guide your actions. And so what is the bigger vision that is going to drive your program's success? And this shouldn't be one person's vision. Talk to your people, right? Talk to talk to your team, talk to your students, talk to your community members. How do we get all that information to make a collective vision? And so at the center of this is of the vision is comprised of our purpose, our goals, and our priorities and our needs. So first, why does this initiative matter? When we are looking to create a leadership program, a mental health program, a leadership program that brings in mental health, what have you, why does this matter? Right? What is the purpose? And then we can think about our goals, right? What measurable outcomes do we want to achieve? And then lastly, what are the essential elements to focus on for success? What are the essential elements to focus on for success? And I forgot to mention this earlier. We have a program design template that I'll be sharing with you all at the end, so that you can move through all of this with more intention, based off of everything that we are covering today. And so your action step, right? We want to align our vision to the purpose and goals that's going to guide your program's trajectory. Align your vision to the purpose and goals that's going to guide your program's trajectory. And so as we're finishing up in this evaluate stage, right, your guiding questions are, well, what data can we look at? What is the data that we can look at? We can then do maybe a SWOT analysis, right? What's working, what's not working. And then lastly, what is the vision that we have? What are our goals, our priorities, and our needs? After we've done that whole evaluation stage, now we move on to our next, which is to establish, right? Content, connection, and community. So first up is the content. So we have to strengthen our knowledge base around leadership development, around mental health development. I think often off that people just kind of, which is, awesome, right? They get promoted into different roles, right? They get new different levels of title changes, right, as they grow in their career. But we don't always take a step back and say, well, how am I continuing to understand and learn about what it means to be a leader? Understand and learn what it means to support the mental health of my team, my community. And so we have to make sure that we are always continuing to strengthen our knowledge. And maybe you're not able to, maybe you may collaborate with other folks here. Because then we can start to connect the content to the need. And so one of the reasons, right, why programs fail is because they are misaligned with the real needs. Again, what are those needs? How do we start to connect what those learnings are, what we are understanding, to the actual needs of our department, our program, our community? And so we can now focus on alignment over compliance. Compliance is important. Don't have me thinking I'm saying something else. Compliance is important, but in alignment is what's also key here. We have to ensure that the program is relevant and addresses both the strategic and emotional needs of those who are engaging in the program. Right? I think part of me keeps getting cut off. I'm trying to make sure I'm standing in frame here. I'm moving and shifting a little bit too much. Again, I'm standing as I'm doing this, and I'm getting really passionate. So yes, right, focusing on our alignment over compliance. And so a big piece that kind of comes up is that people want to make sure that there's actual engagement, right? We want to design programs that people actually engage with. And so engagement is not just really about attendance, which is obviously important. You want people to be there, but really about the impact. The impact. And so maybe we are starting to introduce personalized engagement strategies, right? That's based on the emotional connection and buy-in. We are making sure that we are speaking to them being the participants of the program, about their needs and involving them in the development process. That is what helps drive engagement. Is that it's not so much always about just throwing things out there. Hey, we have this new thing, we have this new thing, we have this new thing. Is it aligned to their needs? Is there an emotional connection and buy-in from there? So that we can really understand the impact. Because yeah, okay, it's cool. People come and show up to our programs that we are running, or the attendance is there, but are they actually leaving with something? Are they able to take whatever they're learning throughout the course of this program and implement it for change? Right? We got to start thinking about impact as well when it comes to engagement. And so the last piece of establish is we have to establish community. How are we building community? Because programs succeed when people feel that they belong. I'll repeat that. Programs succeed when people feel that they belong. And so, how do we start to integrate connections to strengthen the ecosystem of our programs? Maybe we're encouraging some shared ownership of the initiatives to help them feel like they are part of what we are building. And so, a reflection question here is, how can you build a community that supports mental health in your program? Really thinking about building strong communities for change. And so the last piece of our framework is we elevate, right? We actually take the next step and we do the next thing, right? And so we have to do the work. We have to initiate consistently. Consistently. We have to do the work consistently. And so it's really about integration and sustainability. So we have to move away from one-time reactive workshops and reactive programming. How do we start building this stuff into our department, our curriculum, our programs, our offices at all of the different levels? So it doesn't feel like everything is so separate. It has to be more integral. We have to develop sustainable systems. Sustainable. Again, not just reactive, not just one time, right? We love to wait until people are burnt out to then do a self-care workshop or bring in a speaker, right? They're not paying attention at that point. What are we doing that is sustainable? From our one-on-one meetings to our communication efforts and initiatives. It's not just about the one-time reactive work, right? But lastly, what's most important is that we have to have patience for progress. This stuff takes time. It takes time, especially when we're implementing something new. And so we have to have some patience here. We can't expect that we just do the one thing and then everything is going to be grand and change, right? It takes time. It takes time. And so after we are able to do that work consistently, we get into our next space around we have to investigate. Meaning we gotta stay curious. We have to frequently check in with our initiatives. So whether that's doing some progress monitoring, some data collection, some assessment, right? What is the information that we are looking at continuously? And so I tell folks, as we are helping them establish programming initiatives, right, is most teams will have weekly team meetings, right, or maybe bi-weekly. And so how do we make sure that the initiative that you are developing is part of the line items consistently, right? Maybe you're carving out a little bit of time, 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how long your meeting is, to actually check in with the initiatives. What's working? What's not working? What are they saying? What are the needs? Are things shifting, right? It could be due to the time of year. It could be due to the political climate, what have you, right? How do we make sure that we are staying attuned to what is happening? We're continuously collecting this data. We're taking a look at it. We're assessing it. It doesn't just stop just because we started the program. And then lastly, we have to ignite. We have to keep making progress forward. The process should never stop. Right? Programs should evolve based on what works. There has to be an evolving period. And that is one of the reasons why, right, we structure our framework this way. It is cyclical. It is cyclical. It doesn't just stop, right? And so we want to make sure that we are continuing on with that flow. And so before I move into showing the template that I have for you, I want to showcase one of my favorite quotes. This grounds me in a lot of the work that I do, reminding me of the power of our mindset, right? And so while we cannot control everything that happens to us in life, we can fundamentally transform our experiences. We have power, we have agency, we have control. The choice is ours. All right, so I hope that was helpful for you all in terms of how do we rethink about program design. And so this next step is you can get a free program planning template that we have created, so that you can start designing and scaling your own impactful program. And so I can pop it up here on the screen as well. Let me see if this works. Yep. All right. And so you can either scan the QR code or you can go to our website, intentionelevation.com/program-design. And it will prompt you just to fill out a very quick form for you to get access to the template. All right. And so on our template, it is, let me give you 1 second. There are different tabs that go through the program vision and the goals, program design and strategy, leadership development, mental health integration, how do you collect data and feedback, right? As well as any resources and tools. And so there's guiding questions on this program planning template for you to be able to start implementing and growing and scaling the programs that you are designing. And so I thank you. This was awesome for me. I've never done a live on LinkedIn, but I'm so excited to have been able to do so. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat box. That way I can take a look to see if there's any questions for me. Otherwise, let me see. Okay, cool. Otherwise, if you are looking to bring this work to your organization, to your program, feel free to reach out to us. We understand that people are stretched thin and it can be really hard to start to implement all of this by yourself. And so that's what we do, right? We come in and we help build some capacity here as it relates to how you are creating and designing and building programs that are impactful, programs that matter. And so we can come in as to support the initiatives that you're looking to build. So feel free to send me an email, Christina@intentionalelevation.com, so we can set up a time to talk more about your needs, about what you're looking to develop, and how we can support you in those initiatives. Alrighty. And so if you are watching this on a replay, again, feel free to still comment. I am still very active, obviously, on my social platforms. I'd love to answer any questions that you may have. And then, yes, feel free to download our program planning template, put it to use, and let us know. Let us know how you like it. We'll probably check in with you to see how it's going. But otherwise, I thank you for being here on this Friday, or if you were catching the replay of this. It was an honor, and I'm hoping to do this once a quarter. And so if there's anything that you would like to be able to learn more about in terms of the work that we do, that you would like for us to host a webinar on, please feel free to let me know so we can put that on our webinar list as we hope to do these once a quarter. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to supporting you, and I look forward to hearing about the programs that you are designing.